Welcome back to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before, this time Spectre of the Gun, a western of sorts. You saw it. We're going to tell you what we thought about it. You're going to yell at your whatever device you're listening to this podcast on. Speaking of things, devices you might use, check out, you know what? You might get some advice on how to do it from Nikki Tells You How to Live Your Life. She's back with season 2. She's going to help your whole life out. You know, just in case you're living your life wrong, well, you probably are. Most of us are. Take it from Nikki Smith, a woman you should probably never take advice from, but she's telling you to do it anyway. So she presents a weekly advice series on, I was going to get to this next, our YouTube channel. Check out our YouTube channel. Not only can you see awesome things like Nikki Tells You How to Live Your Life, you can also, if you want to hear the podcast in a different area, you can check them out there. Plus other special video treats, backstage, on stage, off stage, anywhere the IABD Presents folks are. Speaking of which, if you want to support us here at IABD, go to patreon.com/IABD. Great way to support us and all the things we do and all the offerings we continue to show you and expand. I mean, we're going to need help if we're going to get all the way to Deep Space Nine and beyond. And this, I mean, we're only in season 3 and we're only up to Spectre of the Gun here on It's All Been Trekked Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. This week we have...
This is Steven.
Colleen.
And Jimmy-Jerome. Colleen, you haven't been on in a while, have you?
Mm-mm.
Do you remember when the last one you did was?
Mm-mm.
Somewhere in season 2?
I think so.
Okay.
So, first impressions, Spectre of the Gun.
This is one I feel like is another one that I feel like was one of the first ones I saw, and I thought it was cool when I was a kid. And then I saw the rest of Trek and thought, no, it's not that cool. So I had super low expectations coming in. I won't say it soared above those low expectations, but I did not hate it as much as I anticipated. But I can't say I loved it either.
I mean, I feel like every 4th episode they just go back in time.
Mm-hmm.
And this compares to the one where they went to the gangster time or the Nazi time or any of the other times. I dug the ending. I thought it was a more interesting twist than just they tricked the guys and got away.
I mean, the not mind over matter thing?
Mm-hmm. The mind over matter.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one was a little different than the time travel or finding a planet exactly like them because there was like a really conceived plot of like, we've created this construct and this is your punishment or whatever. And so to me, I guess the story felt like they were trying for something more cohesive than some of those other episodes. And yet you had to, they're like, we're going to do a Wild West episode. Well, how do we explain that?
Right.
And they bent over backwards trying to explain it. To the point where it was a ridiculous explanation, but at least they explained it, I guess.
Kinda, well, and it was definitely, we have these Wild West, like you said, it's a Wild West episode. And
sure.
We've done the Nazis, we've done the gangsters, we've done...
Romans.
Pre-World War II with Eat the Keeler, we've done all these things, and again, we've talked about this since season 1, since the beginning, that, I wish they'd been creative enough to come up with future times, and of course, if they'd had set pieces for future times laying around, then they would have done that too. But this obviously made it easier. In fact, initially this was supposed to be filmed on location, and then of course it was season 3, and they had even less money. So like, nope, we're on a soundstage. And one of the things I read said that it gave the episode a surrealistic quality. I'm like,
it did
a little bit, but
I mean the red emptiness and the clock and the dentist sign just hanging in midair, not connected to anything. There was definitely
a little bit, but
but not necessarily in a great way.
No.
Well, they did this whole thing about, we've got exactly what we need to play this out, except they didn't. They had lots of extra buildings, including a dentist office and a general store that they didn't need, and nothing they got there worked, so why were they there?
Why not just put them right there at 5 o'clock in the OK Corral?
I wrote that down too. Why? That's torture, building up to it.
Yeah, I mean, and they create this weird world, and it's kind of detailed, but it isn't. So it's like you said, they've got kind of structure, if not really, but then they walk in the bar, and the bar's full, and I know in hindsight, it's like, it was all in their minds, but it couldn't all be in all 5 of their minds, could it?
And the people looked solid, like real people, whereas the buildings were half built.
Right.
But then the people acted very two-dimensional.
Well, yeah, and the interesting thing to me about their whole exercise was their made-up people had lives outside of when the Enterprise folks are around. So they really went all out with this entire exercise. Well, to a point they went all out. But
they went all out. So this was a group project to build this, and one person went all out, and the rest of the group phoned it in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the one guy got really into the details. Oh, it was like a couple of people playing The Sims.
Yes.
And then only one guy really stuck around.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And the others just let their stuff go. And Spock says very early on, history cannot be changed.
Yes.
And it's just like, you've done it before. This is the whole... I mean, if you just go back to a great episode, Sitting on the Edge Forever, for one, he talks about, well, yeah, we came back, we changed history, blah, blah, blah.
But they're not in history. They're very clearly not back in time.
So it has
They're very clearly in this like construct of things, which is why I thought that line made no sense.
Well, and...
I mean, they could have... If they had had the discussion after the bar scene, where, you know, Kirk's testing the bartender, making him feel the clothing.
Right.
And they're really getting a sense that, okay, this is on a track and we can't get off that track. That would have made more sense to have that conversation then. The fact that Spock said it before then made no sense whatsoever because there was nothing to indicate that they couldn't change.
And he kept coming up with reasons why they couldn't change their fate. And then they actually, I think McCoy says the line, why don't you join us humanoids instead of telling us why we can't get out? And it's like, yeah. All Spock is doing is helping create this false construct of, oh, you're stuck in this situation you can't get out of. And that all that does is, so we end up spending another 20 minutes and trying to figure out what it is. In my mind, when I went back, speaking of mind over matter, I was like, oh, okay, I guess when I first watched it, I was kind of like, oh, okay, where are they? What? Maybe they can get... I think I got caught up in that. How do they figure it out? But this time, I just saw the creaky holes and how a lot of work to set up.
Maybe the script hadn't been updated enough once they realized they weren't going to film on location.
Maybe.
So it should have looked more
That's possible.
complete.
Maybe.
Yeah, and then they said later, oh, well, now we can change this time in history because Chekhov died.
Right.
And you're like, wait, what? No, I mean... It was very inconsistent.
So, yeah, I didn't understand why the Enterprise folks thought the only way they could shoot or fight with them was a shootout or a quick draw, as Spock said. I mean, why not just shoot those guys in the head? Why not just surprise attack them? You're trained military men. These guys are Western guys from the late 1800s.
Well, you can pick them up.
Superior.
You don't even have to kill them. You pick them off one by one and just tie them up.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
like, you met the one guy in the bar by himself. At that point, they were still figuring things out fine.
Right.
But now you know the one guy's sitting in the dentist office. The other two guys are in the marshal office. You got 5 guys.
Yes.
You can take 1 or 2.
Yeah, so what happens if they do that? Do they... Because, you know, eventually...
I don't think they could do it. I think they'd probably go to touch him and the force field will pop up or something.
or whatever, yeah. I don't understand why they didn't shoot the force field. That's what I would have done.
Shoot it with the gun?
Sure.
That's like a... I don't think a bullet can take... If they had a phaser, I could see.
They don't know what can... See, now you sound like Spock. You're talking me out of how I can get out of here.
Did they say at the beginning of the episode that Kirk was going to be the one held responsible and punished?
Yes.
And yet then they tried to punish all 5 of them?
Yes.
Okay, just checking.
I thought about that too. Our usual questions about the landing party was like, why these 5 guys? Oh, okay, because it would match up with the 5 guys in history too.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they're leads, and they weren't going to bring Uhura because they never bring Uhura. So Chekhov went to get the mortar and pestle. He came out of the general store with a wrapped package, like he had purchased something. Does he have like a line of credit or something?
That's a good question. There's a lot of details like that kind of...
A lot of details.
Well, like when McCoy goes to get the drugs, he's like, I'll just give them to you. I'll just give them to you. So that we can have the scene where they try the tranquilizer and it doesn't work.
Okay, you think you've built a tranquilizer, why are you testing on Scotty? Don't you need all of your people?
Yeah.
With less than an hour to go?
Why not just test it on one of those idiots at the bar? Or
You could do that too.
yeah, I did enjoy that.
I think I
moment
would just test it by throwing it at the herbs during the fight. I don't think
That's
I'd
true,
pre-test
yeah.
it because
Yeah.
they were so certain it would work.
Yeah.
That why do they need to test it at all?
Yeah, which was to introduce the element.
It was to introduce the element, but from the character's perspective, then they just kept saying, "No, this has to work. This has to work."
Right. And I was surprised because we've talked about this in other episodes where we're like, we have to test it, and they do, or they sometimes they don't to their detriment.
If you're testing it, you have to have some thought that it might not work.
Right.
But they don't.
And if it doesn't, I don't know what the alternative was. I did like the moment where Scotty takes the shot of the rot gut whiskey.
Sure, but
And that was...
Yeah.
Actually, Scotty's drinking himself to death was some of the funniest stuff for me in this episode.
oh yeah, they bring me half a gallon of scotch.
Yeah.
I can get used to this.
There weren't a ton of fun moments, but that was and Chekhov liking the girl.
Did they have bourbon in Arizona? Because wasn't bourbon just a Kentucky thing for a while?
I think it technically isn't all bourbon from Kentucky. Yeah,
that's what Kentucky says. I've got bourbon in my cabinet right now that's labeled bourbon that came from Colorado.
It's lies.
They try to say that the same way you try to say only champagne champagne can only come from the Champagne region of France.
Yeah.
But Kentucky hasn't actually won that fight yet. However, being out in Arizona, I would think they're making their own hooch. I would think the only thing the bar stock is Kentucky bourbon.
It's not traveling via the Pony Express, or I don't know if it was around by 1881.
I mean, even if it was, that's like the luxury top shelf thing you imported all the way from Kentucky. That's not your regular swill. And Bourbon Street in New Orleans, they also make bourbon there. Or did make bourbon there. I was just looking at bourbon to see if it made sense. The American South, so...
Is all of the bourbon just whiskey?
Bourbon is a whiskey, yeah.
I think so.
Bourbon is whiskey, but not all whiskey is bourbon.
Correct. So the Chekhov thing that they decided that it's all in your head, but they didn't... So they think Chekhov died from that. That was very inconsistent too, where McCoy's like, get over it, and then Spock's like, yeah, get over it, and McCoy's like, no, you're not human, you can't get over it.
It was very weird, and they have these half-human conversations, or whatever, McCoy like, oh, you have no feelings, and I did like the moment where Spock's like, hey, by the way, just, I know you forget, but I am half human. And that's what, and I've talked about this recently too, a lot of season 3 to me has these nice little, tiny little moments hidden among a lot of crap. And that, for me, that was one of the other little moments in this one, was you do get that Kirk kind of coming to Spock's defense and Spock being, hey, because in other episodes he doesn't remind them, they're like, essentially being racist. And I liked it in this moment, he was like, hey, essentially he did say, I am thinking about Chekhov, but I'm also working on getting us out of here.
We also got to see, I think, the real moment Spock and McCoy fell in love, when their faces were inches apart, and they were looking into one another's eyes. I think that's where the romance...
That was tight.
That was the shipper moment that I'm sure there was much fan fiction written about this. We got 10 minutes. That's where the other 7.5 minutes went.
Yep.
So, they're not real. They stand there, they get shot up, which apparently, the guns are ripping through the wood behind them, which was interesting.
Right.
And then Kirk attacks him.
Right.
Why?
I don't know, because we hadn't had a... Well,
they're not real.
We did have a fight.
The guys are staring at them. They're not making any further move other than a couple of steps.
Then when as soon as Kirk makes a move, if they shoot him, then he would get shot, right?
I guess, if he
All
starts believing it again.
That he can...
But why, even if he doesn't believe the guns are real, why does he feel the need to punch them?
Well,
what does that accomplish?
It's another one of those that leads to the moment at the end where the Malkosh is like, you could have killed him, but you didn't, and whatever. And Spock's like, you did want to kill him, and all that stuff, which I know they wanted to make that point, and that's fine. But yeah, then you've got to have all these other loopholes to get there, to get there. That
some good ideas, they just strung them together so poorly.
Yeah, and I think it was... They had this terrible framework of the OK Corral, and then they're like, oh, we do have some cool ideas for it, but we're going to try and shove them in here or hide them in here. And what's the last line of the episode? Was it Kirk? We overcame our instinct for violence or whatever. And they're always lecturing Spock about it, and I'm like, Vulcan was a planet of...
intense violence.
That's why they're the way they are. They know. They got over it. They figured it out.
And they don't not have emotions. They suppress them.
Right.
They still feel them.
And they also don't go around bragging about how they overcame violence.
Right.
It's the whole universe.
There's that moment where Spock says, the smallest doubt will be enough to kill you. How does he know that? He doesn't know what the sliding scale is.
Yeah, what is the percentage?
I mean, he's completely pulling that out of his butt at that point. How does he know? Yeah. Just that line of such certainty just felt weird and out of place and not in keeping with an actual logic, scientific-minded person.
There's a lot of vacillating in this episode.
And how did they get back on board?
I don't know. That's what I didn't understand, why they would send him back there.
So, it felt like the explanation they tried to say at the end was they were always on the ship.
Right.
But there was a lot of stuff happening, like picking the landing park, going to the transporter, looking at readings on the planet, beaming down, and then... I mean, they're walking around a bunch. If they were on the ship, they'd be walking into walls.
Well, so if they were on the ship the whole time, it was all in their minds, what was happening with everyone else on the ship? Or was it all instantaneous? If it's instantaneous, that doesn't make time pass.
Right, time did pass.
Some kind of time passed. Yeah.
And what a weird way to test them for coming to the planet. Like, hey guys, you shouldn't come here or we're going to kill you. Okay, you're coming here, we're going to go ahead and kill you. Oh, we didn't kill it. You decided not to fight back. You can come to the planet.
Here's an idea, Melkotians. Just beam somebody on the Enterprise, and then if they don't kill them, all right, then maybe it'll work out.
Ask to look at their history banks or something.
And I guess we shouldn't judge these alien races. They think differently than us, but it doesn't make any sense.
No.
They're supposed to be advanced. They can do all these kind of things and play with their minds, but they don't get that simple concept. That doesn't make any sense to me. What did we think of the Melkotians' appearance, or was that,
Mars attacks?
Yeah. Was that like was it like Corbomite maneuver, and that's just that's not what they really look like, or?
I think that's supposed to be what they really look like.
Yeah, because it looked like, to me, it looked like a giant papier-mâché seahorse head. That's what it looked like to me.
I thought it looked like a giant papier-mâché skull that wasn't very well defined. And then it looked like it almost had a little tiny body when it was in the colored fog. But then when we saw it on the view screen, it clearly didn't. It was just like ghost parts hanging.
And if you could make them see whatever you wanted to see, why would you go with that?
Is there in truth no beauty?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. The color scheme made me think Mars Attacks and the big head.
Yeah. I just am curious what the Melkotians, if that's what they all look like, or what, or...
I thought it was weird that at the beginning, Chekhov heard them in Russian, Uhura heard them in Swahili, Spock heard them in Vulcan, Kirk heard them in English, but you all generally speak English.
That's what
It's not like they're Chekhov's, like,
that was
Russian.
I went through that too, and I decided the only thing I could come up with, and it doesn't necessarily work, they talked to them their first language. English was the second language for Uhura and Spock and Chekhov. But
was it? I don't think it was for Uhura though, was it? I mean, she may have learned Swahili too.
I don't know. That's the only thing I came up with.
I mean, Chekhov definitely has an accent. Definitely,
right.
But I feel like Uhura probably learned English at least as early as Swahili. Like she doesn't seem like.
If we really want to. If we want to go back to the Changeling when they erased her memory and she had to relearn English, English is her first language.
Very true.
And did she relearn Swahili?
And Spock probably learned like 6 languages at once.
That's true.
Every time we've seen him like talk, I mean, he had to learn English for his mother because she apparently can't speak Vulcan. So.
That's true. Yeah, I had the same issues with it. I also thought the whole violence thing at the end and some of the other stuff was, and I know this is just looking back and thinking, oh well, of course there had to be a commentary about Vietnam. Which I saw Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid the other night, and everybody in the audience thought it was a commentary on Vietnam. I didn't necessarily agree with that, but anyway, regardless.
Good movie, though.
Oh, it's a great movie. When they talk about the guns at the very beginning and how they're crude but dangerous, which maybe that's a commentary on our gun control battle in the United States right now.
I mean, those guns were nothing compared to the guns we're dealing with in the United States right now.
Yeah, they're not as crude. They're very dangerous, though. We talked about the buoy at the beginning. We couldn't remember how the old one looked. But it almost looked too good to be in there.
I mean, I thought it was some pretty nifty new effects.
Yeah, I thought it looked cool.
But it was another space probe that's like following them and moving in front of them. Mm-hmm. Except when they decided to go around it, then it just like hung back. It was like, it's cool.
Yeah, at first it did, and I was like, come on in, and then we're gonna send you to the OK Corral.
I don't think they updated the look of the alien at all, but the probe, I don't know. I googled it, and it's not coming up with anything.
Huh.
The Melkotian doesn't look very updated.
Speaking of them going around the buoy, I wonder if these make any sense, and I don't know. This is the Samantha Stark question. Whenever Kirk tonight was like, come to 181 Mark 7 to intercept them or whatever, and I don't know if that works in space. Because if it's a nautical thing...
Oh, there it is.
But yeah, I don't know enough about sailing to know if 181 Mark 7 actually would mean anything in space or...
When sailing's two-dimensional because you're just traveling on a plane on the ocean.
Yeah.
Whereas in space, you've got that third dimension.
Yeah. I did read that Chekhov was the first episode produced actually for season 3.
Oh, was it?
And the network had said they wanted more Chekhov, so that's why another reason he got down on the planet.
And he got the girl.
He did.
Well, he was the young one.
I like that even facing imminent death and not knowing where he is, Chekhov still had commitment issues. He did not want to marry that.
I know, it's like, what's the harm of saying, sure, I'll marry you in a week?
Yeah, he did not want to marry that girl. He knew he was going to get gunned down in like 4 hours. He's like, but I can't, or whatever. It's like...
Sylvia, played by Bonnie Beecher. She's only got 12 credits.
Yeah, this was one of her last two.
Yeah, next to last.
She dated Bob Dylan in high school, I believe.
Really?
Or very, very young. Reportedly, he wrote Girl from the Northern Country about her. And then she actually married and is still married to Wavy Gravy of Woodstock fame.
Hugh Romney?
That's him, yeah.
They have one child.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, I didn't really notice any of the other people being like recognizable actors, whereas in the first couple seasons we get some familiar faces.
Yeah, like if you go into their IMDb, some of them have they have a lot of credits, some of them.
I mean, Virgil Earp, Charles Maxwell doesn't even have a picture on here.
Yeah.
Morgan Earp's Rex Holman, Doc Holliday, Sam Gilman.
Rex Holman, I think, there was some interesting... Yeah, Ron Sobel had some
Ron Sobel, this was in True Grit, but this was what he was second best known for.
Yeah.
He has about 90 credits.
Yeah.
Charles Maxwell was best known for this. He's got 83 credits. He did a bunch of episodes of Bonanza.
And a couple of the guys did a lot of westerns, just like DeForest Kelley.
Rex Holman was best known for this and Star Trek V: The Final Frontier.
That's right. Yeah, he came back. Yeah.
Different character, obviously. Yes. He's got about 100 credits. So they were like working actors, but not well-known actors. Sam Gilman was best known for this.
Wow.
When he's got 86 credits. So yeah, these definitely aren't household names. Let me look. Johnny Behan, who played Bill Zuckert. Who was that? I don't even remember. Oh, yeah, he was the sheriff. Mm-hmm. He's best known for Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
That was one of his last movies, yeah.
And then this.
Yeah.
It still makes his top 4 of what he's best known for.
Wow.
He's got 230 credits.
Yeah, these guys were all...
Working actors.
Working actors, yeah. Then, like I said, a lot of them did the Western, just like DeForest Kelley.
Sure, yeah. Gunsmoke and Bonanza and all that stuff.
My alternate episode was either one, it's a shootout in space, or since, we're here, they're trapped on the Death Star right before it gets blown up. But my other one was actually, you already alluded to this, my other alternate was, essentially it's an episode of Wild Wild West. Essentially, because that's just kind of what was going on.
And my alternate episode's just the ending, where they're on the bridge and everything looks back to normal, and then Sylvia shows up and she's like, Chekhov, I'm pregnant.
And he still won't marry her. Because he is a scoundrel.
He's a womanizer.
That's
I think we've seen that with Chekhov before.
We have. He's young and dumb and ready to...
One of my favorite things in this episode, I'm really glad they left it in, was Kirk goes to flip open his communicator early on.
And it kind of...
He gets to do it again.
Yeah.
And I like that they left that. I'm like, I would fumble with stuff sometimes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And in a TV show today, I don't think they would have left it.
No.
1960s. Limited time,
that's
budget,
right.
shooting schedule.
I can't remember, was this one or the next one we're watching? One of them was one of the ones that was filmed in 5.5 days, so they were... I feel like it's this one.
This one did feel filmed quick.
Yeah.
What about fashion?
Fashion.
So fashion in this, the Wild West outfits, what do you think?
Pretty run-of-the-mill, nothing very exciting.
No, except for some reason the Star Trek officers didn't get them.
Yeah, again, was that a cost thing? Was that just...
It had to be.
It just seemed... I feel like they wrote the Kirk line about the fabric. Does this feel the same as after the fact? Like, they just didn't want to...
Well, then Sylvia had the whole wedding dress she was going to make.
Oh, that's right.
Yards and yards of fabric.
Yes.
But she didn't do anything.
I didn't love her dress either, did you, Colleen?
No, but that was such a Little House on the Prairie moment when she was like, let's get married in a week. I'll have the dress done by then. Like, yeah, she totally will. Alone in her house on her sewing machine.
Well, she was making it just for a dance. And she's like, but it'll make a great wedding dress.
Yes, that's
pretty sure that's the first Little House on the Prairie reference we've had on the podcast.
You're welcome.
Oh, and Scotty's hairdo, I read that it appears this way in 2 more episodes, but he hated it. So he didn't... It's like that poofy, more of a...
I noticed that in early season 3, too.
Yeah.
So there were 5 of them that came down. There were supposed to be 5. Mm-hmm. But then when they faced off against the Earps, only 4 of the Earps showed up, too?
Yeah.
So was there a 5th one supposed to be on that side?
I don't know enough about the OK Corral.
I don't either.
I never saw Tombstone. I hear it's great. I didn't see Wyatt Earp either. That was another Kevin Costner 4-hour movie, I think.
I mean...
Not to be confused with Waterworld.
Yeah. I assumed there was more than those 8 people. It was a 30-second shootout, even though it was a well-known event.
Makes sense.
Let's see. Generally the most famous shootout in history.
Still.
According to Wikipedia.
Well.
With the Earps were the police, obviously, in Doc Holliday. So yeah, there were 4 of them. And 5 of the bad guys. And I guess they left the bad guys. One of them, Billy Claiborne, survived.
Oh.
So yeah, it was 4 versus 5. And the Virgil, Morgan, and Doc Holliday were wounded in the fight. But Wyatt Earp was unharmed.
He talked to the sheriff, though. How are they the police if the sheriff was somebody else?
They were the marshals.
Oh, that's
They had
right.
the marshal
There we go,
station.
marshals.
That little town had a sheriff's station and a marshal station. We
So
saw
whose
both.
jurisdiction would that have been?
I don't know. The marshal would be federal,
Yeah.
and the sheriff would be
They're
local.
local.
But
Local cops.
and they definitely talked about the Earps as if they were the bad guys, even though they were
That's
the marshals.
what. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess maybe they're just very territorial. Like, get out of our town. We don't want the federal government intruding.
Yeah, I guess.
Just like certain places today.
That's right. States' rights.
Good point, though.
Yeah.
Was Doc Holliday the dentist, or was the other guy the dentist? I didn't understand why Doc Holliday was laying in the chair if he was the dentist.
Other than for the
He was the
effect of him
dentist.
turning around, yeah. I don't know what the other guy was doing. Was he just the helper? Yeah, that's a good
He had a
question.
towel over his face. I think he was just taking a break.
Is that what? Yeah.
Well, I think it was more for dramatic effect. But
Right.
That's the only thing I could think of when it happened. I was like, oh, I guess he's taking a break. Put a little towel over your face, take it out, rest up for the fight. You know, fights are stressful. You don't want to go in sleepy. You might draw a little slow.
I guess, however, dentists worked back then, it had to be stressful because you torturing people.
But he walked in and the guy was like, I have 5 more minutes on this or whatever.
Oh, you're right.
So it was like they were, I don't
This is again part of that
think it was his
Melkoshian lack of detail, over detailed.
Good point.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think the guy would say this. Yeah, there's Melkoshians fighting over what their character should be saying. That's probably what happened there.
Yeah, and they almost treated it like it was a reveal, like we would have known who it was had we see this face before.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
McCoy would recognize Doc Holliday.
Yeah, it's like, hey, how's it going?
And
Well, it led to that. I'm Holiday, Doc, or whatever, something Holiday.
again, I guess they knew a lot of detail about this event, but not that Doc Holliday was a dentist.
Right. Well,
Or they would have just sent McCoy into the dentist office.
that was my other thing was that none of these conversations. Well, I shouldn't say none of them could have happened, but none of them happened the way they were handling. They know Ike Clanton didn't go up and say, "Hey, I'm Kirk. I'm from a spaceship." So immediately history is different.
They sent somebody to the apothecary. Was that
McCoy.
Chekhov?
McCoy. Oh.
No, the apothecary was Scotty to get the cotton, right?
But I would imagine that's where McCoy would have gone to get whatever
That's what I
drugs
thought.
he needed.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
The whole distribution of shopping duties was confusing.
Yeah. You went to the dentist to get the tranquilizer, right? Or whatever
The
you needed.
chemical, the drugs. Yeah.
God, I just.
And
I'm
Spock
just-
got cans of baking soda somewhere.
Yeah, it's the town market.
He just robbed somebody,
Yeah.
Jack got
busted into their
Yeah.
house and took them.
Yeah.
went to the general store to get a mortar and pestle. Was that something they commonly carried at the general store back then?
I just loved when McCoy's like, I need a mortar and pestle. Okay, I'll be right back. It's like, what? Yeah, I'm just gonna go down.
Yeah, you get that. Because I guarantee Chekhov already knew what a mortar and pestle was.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That was a long box. I'm trying to think of how the mortar and pestle fit in there. Like, did they use a ton of packaging like Amazon?
Yeah,
does?
it was all. It was
Back
all,
in those days?
It was all styrofoam peanuts.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sawdust, probably that.
Yeah.
Wood
yeah.
shavings.
Right.
Men and Women of Star Trek. And this is where I can find out exactly how long it's been since Colleen's been on. She last did the Nazi episode in Season 2, Patterns of Force.
Oh, wow.
So about 10 episodes ago. But now we're Season 3, so you gotta pick fresh.
No, I'm gonna go with Morgan.
Morgan are up?
He had a Viggo Mortensen, young Matthew McConaughey about
Yeah,
him.
I can see that.
Okay. Steven?
I'm pretty sure I'm sticking with whoever I've got.
Romulan Commander?
Oh, yeah.
Sylvia doesn't beat her?
No.
I had switched to Dr. Jones, and I don't remember Dr. Jones at all, and I'm still going to stick with her over Sylvia. It had to have been Diana Mulder,
Yeah, that's right.
because from
Yeah.
the last episode. Where does this episode rank?
Best one all season.
Best one you've seen this season. So there's only 5 so far. This is episode 6.
Oh, wow.
I'd say it beats Spock's brain.
Yeah, I had that thought. It is.
I'm trying to remember And the Children Shall Lead.
Oh,
That was
man.
pretty bad, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I would actually rate this above that.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember it, but I'm inclined to not be so harsh. Oh yeah, I remember it now. Yeah, this was above that. Paradise Syndrome.
I would rate it below that.
Let me refresh my memory of what Paradise Syndrome.
Made
me.
Again, that was another one. Actually, another.
That one was a little better.
It was. Yeah, I like that.
It wasn't great, but yeah, let's put it there. So fourth down out of 6. That's not too bad.
By the way,
We'll see where it stays.
Ron Sobel, who played Wyatt Earp, his last film appearance was in Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo.
They didn't invite him back for the sequel?
I think he passed away after that.
Oh. Because he realized what movie he just done?
Yeah. In fact, he was uncredited, so he was like, don't even put my name on this. I'm out of here. He played a judge.
Well, this was one of our shorter episodes, but I feel that's what this deserved.
Yeah. It's just like in the episode, we just kind of started to dig into stuff, and they're like, let's go on to something else.
So next week, we'll be doing Day of the Dove, where both humans and Klingons have been lured to a planet by a formless entity that feeds on hatred and is set about to fashion them into a permanent food supply for itself. Directed by Marvin J. Chomsky. We didn't look at director and writer. Written by Gene Roddenberry and Jerome Bixby. Day of the Dove.
There you go.
Jerome Bixby is generally well regarded. Spectre of the Gun is credited writers Roddenberry and Kuhn, even though Kuhn was well gone by that time. Wow. So he probably did a decent draft, and then Roddenberry just screwed it up as they kept going forward with it. Would be my guess. So, come back. We got Klingons. We'll talk about them. And this is another one of those Klingon commanders that everybody remembers, Kang, Michael Ansara.
Yeah.
One of the ones that comes back in DS9.
Yes.
And until then...
Mind over matter.
Yeah, you can't live long and prosper if you have even a shred of doubt.
Not one iota.
Not the slightest bit.
But do it anyway.
It's All Been Done presents.
Who's got the time?